When we think about our favorite sitcoms, we remember the laughter, the warmth, and the characters who felt like family. But sometimes the actors behind those beloved roles faced struggles that never made it into the script. What happens when the pressure of fame becomes too heavy, when mental health battles go unseen, or when violence strikes without warning? Behind the bright lights and laugh tracks, some of television's most talented performers were fighting battles that would ultimately claim their lives far too soon. Here are 12 sitcom actors who tragically died too young. Freddie Prinze, the rising star, who couldn't escape the darkness. At just 22 years old, Freddie Prinze had everything the entertainment world promised. He was the star of a hit NBC sitcom, he had a beautiful infant son, and he had recently signed a 5-year deal worth $6 million. On January 28, 1977, that all came to an end when Prinze shot himself in the head while his business manager watched in horror. He died the following day when his family made the devastating decision to remove life support. Prinze had grown up in New York City's Washington Heights neighborhood, the son of a German father and Puerto Rican mother. He called himself Hungarican in his comedy act, playing up his mixed heritage for laughs. At 16, he started performing at the Improv Comedy Club, where owner Bud Friedman remembered him as an instant sensation. Television appearances with Johnny Carson followed, and by age 19, Prinze had landed the starring role on Chico and the Man, opposite veteran actor Jack Albertson. The chemistry between the upbeat young Chicano mechanic and the cantankerous garage owner made the show a top 5 hit almost immediately. But behind the scenes, Prinze was unraveling. According to multiple biographies, he developed a serious addiction to Quaaludes and cocaine, using the drugs to cope with the pressure of carrying a network sitcom at such a young age. His marriage to Catherine Cochran fell apart, and he was arrested for driving under the influence in November 1976. Friends later recalled that Prinze had been talking about suicide for months, sharing his dark thoughts with close friends like Tony Orlando and David Brenner. The final episode he filmed was called Ed Talks to God. Hours after production wrapped, he made farewell phone calls to family and friends before shooting himself. He left behind a note that simply read, "I can't take any more." In 1977, his death was ruled a suicide. However, his family later won a civil suit that determined his death was medication-induced and accidental, enabling them to collect on his life insurance policy. His son, Freddie Prinze Jr., would grow up to become an actor himself, though he rarely spoke publicly about his father until decades later. Phil Hartman, the murder that shocked Hollywood. Phil Hartman was known as the glue guy, the reliable comedy professional who could elevate any sketch or scene. After 8 successful seasons on Saturday Night Live, where he became famous for impressions of everyone from Bill Clinton to Frank Sinatra, Hartman moved on to star as vain news anchor Bill McNeil on the NBC sitcom News Radio. On May 28, 1998, his wife Brynn shot him 3 times as he slept in their bedroom. She then killed herself hours later as police arrived at their Los Angeles home. The couple had been married since 1987 and had 2 children together. According to friends who knew them well, the marriage had become increasingly troubled. Brynn struggled with jealousy over her husband's success while her own acting career stalled. She battled substance abuse problems and had been in and out of rehab multiple times. Hartman's News Radio co-star Joe Rogan later revealed that Hartman had confided his marital problems to him and that Rogan had encouraged him to divorce Brynn 5 times. But Hartman loved his children and didn't want to leave them. On the evening of May 27th, Brynn had dinner with a friend who later said she seemed to be in a good frame of mind. But when she returned home, something shifted. According to the autopsy, Brynn had cocaine, alcohol, and the antidepressant Zoloft in her system when she murdered her husband. After the shooting, she drove to a friend's house and confessed, though he initially didn't believe her. When they returned to the Hartman home and he saw Phil's body, the friend immediately called 911. As police tried to coax Brynn out of the bedroom where she had locked herself with her husband's body, they removed the couple's young daughter from the house. Brynn then laid down next to Phil and shot herself in the mouth. News Radio returned for a 5th season that fall, with the premiere episode revealing that Bill McNeil had died of a heart attack. Hartman's longtime friend Jon Lovitz joined the cast to fill the void, but the show only lasted one more season. Hartman was 49 years old at the peak of his creative powers when his life was cut short by the person who should have protected him most. John Ritter, the beloved dad who died on set. John Ritter made physical comedy look effortless. As Jack Tripper on Three's Company, he spent 7 seasons pratfalling and mugging his way through misunderstandings with his roommates Janet and Chrissy. Don Knotts once called him the greatest physical comedian on the planet. On September 11, 2003, while rehearsing his newer sitcom, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, Ritter suddenly fell ill. He was sweating profusely, vomiting, and complaining of chest pain. He was rushed across the street to the hospital where he had been born 54 years earlier. Hours later, he was dead. Doctors initially treated Ritter for what they believed was a heart attack, but he was actually suffering from an aortic dissection, a tear in the wall of the aorta. The condition requires completely different treatment than a heart attack, and the misdiagnosis may have cost him precious time. His wife, Amy Yazbek, later filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the physicians, though they were eventually found not liable. Medical experts testified that Ritter's condition was too far advanced to save him by the time he arrived at the hospital. Ritter had been in the middle of filming the second season of 8 Simple Rules, where he played an overprotective father to daughters, portrayed by Kaylee Cuoco and Amy Davidson. The show had already taped 3 episodes for the new season. ABC aired those episodes with introductions by co-star Katie Sagal, then devoted 2 emotional episodes to the family dealing with Paul Hennessy's death. The show continued for another season and a half, with James Garner and David Spade joining the cast, but the heart had gone out of it. Cuoco, who had developed a close bond with Ritter, later recalled that everyone on set was simply crying and telling stories the day after he died. Ritter left behind his wife Amy and 4 children, including actor Jason Ritter. His widow established the John Ritter Foundation for Aortic Health to raise awareness about the condition that killed him. The foundation's mission remains crucial because aortic dissection often presents with symptoms similar to a heart attack, and many patients don't survive long enough to be properly diagnosed. Dana Plato. From sitcom star to tragic cautionary tale. Dana Plato was adopted as an infant and raised in California's San Fernando Valley by a mother who took her to casting calls when she was still a baby. At 13, she faced a choice between competing for the U.S. Olympic figure skating team or starring in a new sitcom. She chose television and landed the role of Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes. The show made her an instant star alongside Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges. But fame came with a dark side that Plato wasn't equipped to handle. According to friends and co-stars, Plato began using marijuana and cocaine to cope with the pressures of celebrity while still a teenager. When she became pregnant in 1984, the network decided she no longer fit their wholesome image and released her from her contract. After the birth of her son Tyler, Plato struggled to find work that separated her from the Kimberly Drummond character. The roles dried up, and she turned increasingly to drugs and alcohol. Her downward spiral became public in February 1991 when she walked into a Las Vegas video store, pulled out a pellet gun, and demanded the money from the cash register. After leaving with $164, she inexplicably returned to the scene 15 minutes later and was immediately arrested. The flabbergasted clerk had already called 911, reportedly telling the dispatcher, "I've just been robbed by the girl who played Kimberly on Different Strokes." Wayne Newton posted her bail, and she received 5 years probation. The following year, she was arrested again for forging prescriptions for Valium and served 30 days in jail. On May 7, 1999, Plato appeared on The Howard Stern Show, insisting she had been sober for a decade. Listeners weren't convinced, and a clearly distressed Plato offered to take a drug test on air. She and her fiancé Robert Menchaca were driving back to California afterward when they stopped at his parents' house in Oklahoma for a Mother's Day visit. The next day, Plato took what she claimed was a few doses of the painkiller Lortab, along with a muscle relaxant, and went to lie down. When Menchaca and the family woke up, they discovered she had died in her sleep. She was 34 years old. While initially ruled accidental, the coroner later changed the ruling to suicide based on the large amount of drugs in her system and her history of suicide attempts. Tragically, her son Tyler would take his own life 11 years later, 2 days before the anniversary of his mother's death. Rebecca Schaeffer, the stalking murder that changed the law. Rebecca Schaeffer was waiting for a script that could change her life. At 21, she had already starred in the CBS sitcom My Sister Sam, opposite Pam Dawber, and now she had an audition scheduled for The Godfather Part 3 with director Francis Ford Coppola. On the morning of July 18, 1989, her doorbell rang. When she opened the door, she expected a studio courier. Instead, it was Robert John Bardo, a 19-year-old obsessed fan who had been stalking her for 3 years. Bardo showed Schaeffer an autographed photo she had sent him in response to one of his many fan letters. He told her he was her biggest admirer. Schaeffer politely excused herself, explaining she was getting ready for an interview, and closed the door. Bardo walked to a nearby diner and had breakfast. Then he returned. When Schaeffer answered the door a second time, Bardo pulled out a .357 caliber handgun and shot her point blank in the chest. She screamed for help, and neighbors rushed to her side, but she was pronounced dead at the hospital 30 minutes later. Police arrested Bardo the next day after motorists reported a man running through traffic on an Arizona freeway yelling, "I killed Rebecca Schaeffer." He had paid a detective agency $250 to obtain Schaeffer's home address through California Department of Motor Vehicles records. The ease with which he accessed this information horrified law enforcement and Schaeffer's loved ones. Bardo had previously tried to meet Schaeffer on the set of My Sister Sam, but Warner Brothers security turned him away multiple times. Studio policy required that executives and actors be notified about such incidents, but because Bardo left quietly when asked, security deemed the encounters too trivial to report. What finally pushed Bardo to murder was seeing Schaeffer in a love scene in the film Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. He became enraged that she had, in his words, become another Hollywood whore by appearing in bed with another actor. He was carrying a copy of The Catcher in the Rye when arrested, the same book Mark David Chapman had when he murdered John Lennon 9 years earlier. Prosecutor Marcia Clark, who would later become famous for the O.J. Simpson trial, won a conviction for first-degree murder. Bardo was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Schaeffer's death led to sweeping changes. In 1990, California passed America's first anti-stalking law, making it a felony to cause another person to be in reasonable fear for their safety. The Driver's Privacy Protection Act was enacted in 1994, preventing departments of motor vehicles from releasing personal addresses. Today, all 50 states have anti-stalking laws, a legacy of one young actress whose promising career was stolen by an obsessed stranger. Merlin Santana, a lie that led to murder. Merlin Santana spent most of his career playing smooth-talking charmers. He got his start at age 3 in commercials, then appeared as Stanley, one of Rudy Huxtable's admirers on The Cosby Show. But his breakthrough came as Romeo Santana on The Steve Harvey Show, where his charisma and comedic timing made him a fan favorite. On November 9, 2002, at just 26 years old, Santana was shot and killed while sitting in a parked car in Los Angeles. The circumstances of his murder were as senseless as they were tragic. Santana and his friend, actor Brandon Adams, had just left an acquaintance's home in the Crenshaw district around 2:30 in the morning. A gunman named Damian Andre Gates, who was 19 at the time, fired a shot that entered through the trunk of the vehicle. The bullet penetrated the passenger headrest and struck Santana in the head, killing him. Adams, who was driving, managed to escape injury and drove about half a mile before flagging down police. Paramedics responded, but Santana was pronounced dead at the scene. The motive behind the shooting shocked everyone who heard it. Gates's 15-year-old girlfriend, Monique King, had falsely claimed that Santana made sexual advances toward her. This lie, told by a teenager, prompted Gates and his friend to hunt down and murder Santana. In 2003, Gates was convicted of first-degree murder and attempted murder, receiving 3 consecutive life sentences plus 70 years. King was found guilty of second-degree murder and received 10 years in juvenile custody. Friends remembered Santana as struggling after The Steve Harvey Show ended. He had grown accustomed to the perks of fame, like skipping lines at clubs and getting special treatment. When the show was canceled, those privileges disappeared. He found himself waiting in line like everyone else, and the acting roles he auditioned for kept going to other people. He turned to music, trying to launch a rap career, but success remained elusive. According to those close to him, Santana reportedly battled depression as he tried to figure out what came next. He never got the chance to find out. Lamont Bentley. The accident that took Hakeem. Lamont Bentley had been practicing his autograph since he was 12 years old. He knew he was destined for stardom, and when his mother moved the family from Milwaukee to Los Angeles to pursue her own singing career, Bentley dropped out of high school to chase his acting dreams. He landed his big break as Hakeem Campbell, the eternally hungry and happy-go-lucky best friend on the UPN sitcom Moesha. After the show ended its 6-season run, Bentley continued acting while forming a hip-hop duo called Uprise. On January 19, 2005, everything came to a horrifying end on a California freeway. Bentley had attended a screening of the independent film Shards on the evening of January 18th. His manager later said he was excited about his performance and believed the role would lead to bigger opportunities. Shortly after midnight, Bentley was driving alone on Highway 118 near Simi Valley when witnesses saw his Mercedes-Benz traveling at high speed toward an off-ramp. He ran through a stop sign, crashed through a chain-link fence, and rolled down an embankment. Bentley was ejected from the vehicle into freeway traffic, where 5 cars struck him before anyone could reach him. He was pronounced dead at 12:23 in the morning. He was 31 years old, leaving behind 2 young daughters and his mother. Investigators determined that alcohol and drugs were not factors in the crash. The sudden and violent nature of the accident led to speculation about mechanical failure or a medical emergency, but no definitive cause was ever determined. His manager, Susan Ferris, told reporters that Bentley was a bright candle that just got snuffed out. Brandy, who had played his best friend Moshe for 6 years, expressed heartbreak over losing both a co-star and a genuine friend. Bentley was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills, and a memorial service was held in his hometown of Milwaukee, where he was remembered as someone who made everyone he met feel like family. Freddie Prinze's final performance. When the cast and crew of Chico and the Man returned for the 4th season following Freddie Prinze's death, they faced an impossible choice about how to address his absence. For the final 3 episodes of Season 3, the show simply explained that Chico had gone to visit his father in Mexico. Producer James Comack initially considered canceling the show entirely, but ultimately decided Freddie would not want to stop the show. When Season 4 premiered in September 1977, viewers were introduced to a new character named Raul, played by 12-year-old Gabriel Melgar, who was adopted by Ed Brown, but no explanation was given about what happened to Chico. The decision to ignore Prinze's death felt disrespectful to many viewers. It wasn't until later in the season, during a 2-part episode where Raul discovers some of Chico's belongings, that Ed finally tells the boy that Chico has died, but by then it was too late. The ghost of Freddie Prinze was too strong for the revamped show to overcome. Chico and the Man limped through one final season before ending in July 1978, never achieving the same magic that had made it a top 10 hit in its early years. Michelle Thomas. The Quiet Battle. Nobody Knew About Michelle Thomas made an impression on 2 of the biggest sitcoms of the 80s and 90s. On The Cosby Show, she played Justine, the sweet first love and girlfriend of Theo Huxtable. From 1993 to 98, she recurred on Family Matters as Myra Monkhouse, Steve Urkel's charming but increasingly obsessive girlfriend. Off-screen, Thomas was beloved by her castmates for her warmth and professionalism. Nobody knew she was fighting for her life. In December 1998, Thomas died at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York City following treatments for cancer. Her publicist confirmed the news to The New York Times, though few details were released about her illness. Thomas was only 30 years old, having just finished filming appearances in the movie Unbowed and several dozen episodes of the daytime soap The Young and the Restless. The news shocked her former co-stars, many of whom had no idea she had been sick. Her battle with cancer had been kept private, a testament to her desire to keep working and maintain her dignity even as her health deteriorated. David Strickland, the troubled star of Suddenly Susan. David Strickland played the young, eager rock reporter Todd Stites on the Brooke Shields-led sitcom Suddenly Susan. Behind his bright smile and comedic energy, Strickland was fighting battles with bipolar disorder and addiction that he largely kept hidden from the public. In March 1999, at age 29, Strickland checked into a motel in Las Vegas, where he would end his own life. The actor had enjoyed recurring roles on Sister Sister and Mad About You before landing his breakthrough role on Suddenly Susan in 1996. To those who worked with him, he seemed talented and driven, someone on the verge of bigger things. But the pressures of maintaining his career while managing his mental health issues became overwhelming. His death sparked conversations about the need for open discussions regarding mental health in Hollywood, though it would be many years before such conversations became commonplace. Sawyer Sweeten, the twin who couldn't go on. Sawyer Sweeten was just 16 months old when he and his twin brother Sullivan were cast as Jeffrey and Michael Barone on Everybody Loves Raymond. The show ran for 9 seasons, making the twins and their older sister Madeline fixtures in American living rooms. But growing up on television came with challenges that became apparent only later. On April 23, 2015, just weeks before his 20th birthday, Sawyer died by suicide. His sister Madeline later shared that Sawyer had always been kind and encouraging when they confided in one another. "He will live on in my head and those shared moments forever," she wrote. His on-screen mother, Patricia Heaton, expressed shock and devastation, remembering Sawyer as a funny and exceptionally bright young man who was gone from us far too soon. The tragedy highlighted the mental health challenges that child actors often face, particularly during the difficult transition from childhood fame to adult anonymity. Cameron Boyce, the Disney star, taken by epilepsy. Cameron Boyce brought energy and heart to every project he touched. Known for his bright smile and constellation of freckles, Boyce became one of Disney's most recognizable young faces through roles on Jessie and the Descendants film franchise. On July 6, 2019, at just 20 years old, Boyce died in his sleep from complications related to epilepsy, a condition known as SUDEP, or sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. The news sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and prompted a wave of tributes from co-stars, fans, and fellow actors. Boyce had been open about his epilepsy diagnosis and had worked to raise awareness about the condition. His death brought attention to SUDEP, which remains poorly understood even within the medical community. For someone so young and seemingly healthy to die in his sleep served as a devastating reminder that epilepsy can be a life-threatening condition requiring serious medical management and monitoring. The legacy they left behind. These 12 actors represent only a fraction of the sitcom stars who died too young. Their deaths came from different causes, from suicide and murder to accidents and medical conditions. But they share something in common beyond their tragic ends. They brought laughter and joy to millions of viewers. They created characters that felt real, that made us think of them as friends or family members. When they died, we didn't just lose talented performers. We lost the possibilities of what they might have become, the roles they never got to play, the laughs they never got to give us. Their stories also serve as reminders of the hidden costs of fame, the pressure to succeed, the loss of privacy, the struggle to separate yourself from the character everyone knows you as. These challenges are real and can be overwhelming. Mental health issues, substance abuse, and the simple randomness of tragedy don't discriminate based on how many people know your name or how much money you've made. Behind every beloved sitcom character was a real person dealing with real problems, and sometimes those problems became too much to bear. Today, these actors live on through reruns and streaming services. New generations discover their work and fall in love with the characters they created. Their performances remain frozen in time, forever young, forever making us laugh. But for those who knew them, worked with them, or loved them, the loss remains profound. They were taken too soon, leaving behind grieving families, devastated friends, and fans who can only wonder what might have been if they had been given the chance to grow old.